Hi everybody, it's me, Dion Nicole, also known as the Lady D. Thanks for joining me again today. So we are continuing the series on self-love, part 4, episode 4, coming to you right after this on Dion Nicole Inspire. That's right. Part 4 is still going to be talking about a mental breakthrough. However, we're going to go a little deeper with mental breakthrough. So, through the previous videos, we've been recognizing what different emotions or thoughts that filter your mind that you have to take a hold of and send back when it's not coming from the right source, because we will not entertain negativity in our mind. That is the most important part of self-love. Yes, moisturizing and taking care of your body, but also taking care of your mind. And that is the part that we're on right now. However, you get sneaky messages sometimes that may come through. That's why it's so important to have spiritual discernment. We won't go into that too much on this video, but that is what's to come. How do we connect with the higher power? Not just any higher power, but the ultimate higher power. How do you connect? And how do you hear? And how do you feel from your gut to know who's good for you in your life? Because everyone that comes in your life is not meant to be there for the entirety of your life. Some people that come into your life, it's just meant to be there for a season or a reason or for a lifetime. You'll find that in my book. That is not my saying, that comes from someone else, but it is quoted in my book that I wrote for my girls in chapter 3. You do have to recognize the importance that people have in your life, and you have to understand to put up the boundaries that are necessary for people that are less important for you in your life as you are on your journey. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's path is different. And I do feel like some people will cross each other's path for a reason, but not necessarily for a lifetime. So, let's get into it. Mental breakthroughs. How do we recognize these emotional traumas? Some of you know very well where your trauma came from. Some of you have no idea that you even are traumatized or were traumatized in some way. I am not trying to bring up anything that is, that you don't want to remember or that you have grown past. However, I just feel like it is necessary to recognize the feelings or the voids that you feel in your life. You need to just recognize what's making you feel anxious or off, or what's making you become compulsive in some way with something going on in the world as it relates to your life, to where it brings you a distraction and where you are halted from reaching your higher goals. That's all. That's the purpose for it. Recognizing these emotions that trigger you. Now, a little bit later on in the video, I am going to bring you a clip from Lisa Bleu. She is the founder of Women of Impact, the YouTube channel that I suggested on last week. I do have other content from other creators, YouTube creators, but I really like what she said. She made it really simple about how you deal with triggers. I'll tell you that it's very important to set boundaries. Setting boundaries can seem difficult because you may have never done it before. You may say, what is setting boundaries? Basically, you have to put up limits. You have to put up limits emotionally, physically, and spiritually of what you'll allow to come in your mind. So setting up boundaries is just a healthy way of keeping your mind healthy and making sure that the information that's coming through is what's good for you. Sometimes those people, whoever they are, they could even be someone very close to you, or it could be someone that you work with. It could be someone that's in your life on a regular basis, but you would think they don't really affect you, but in some way they do. Whoever it is that trigger you, whoever it is that pushes you too far, whoever it is that's overwhelmingly needy, whoever it is that's basically manipulative or have a narcissistic personality, sociopaths. There's all kind of mental issues. There's all kind of people that need mental care. Now, the mental care that we're doing on here together is just very basic. But if you feel like you actually need more mental care, you cannot be afraid to seek that help. I am big on spirituality. That is very true. But I also feel like God put certain people in this world to help us. And if you seek discernment, you can find the right kind of help that you need. What you need to do is not play victim. You cannot sit around with self-pity. You cannot be upset because you're maybe not mentally equipped as much as the next person. Those days are gone. You have to understand that there is so much more for you when you come to grips with what you need and get the help. Get the help and believe in the source to bring you the help if you don't know where it's going to come from. Okay? So toxic people will bring you down. What is a toxic person? Definition by the book is a person or anyone whose behavior adds negativity and upset to your life. Can you think of someone like that right now? Come on. I think at least one person has a toxic person that's in their life, unless they've really pretty much led a drama-free life. And if you have, God bless you, that's great. Some people have, of course. Not everybody, though. So a toxic person is anyone whose behavior adds negativity and upset to your life. Many times people are toxic or dealing with their own stresses and traumas. To do this, they act in ways that don't present them in the best light and usually upset others along the way. How many of you know people that are miserable, that are dealing with their own issues, and you are supposed to be the fixer of their issues? Is that fair? You're not their savior. You're not their creator. You are not their keeper. That is God. And so we have to be careful not to try to become the God and the Lords of people's lives. Let them seek for their self. Bring advice and encouragement, but you have to know your limits of what you can take. Toxic people, in my opinion, shouldn't actually be able to overcome your life in any way. I think you really should set up boundaries. But of course, that's hard when you have some family members that are toxic or really long friends that may be toxic. The main thing with those people that you know are going to be consistent in your life, I feel, is to do the 10-foot pole. You know that they're there. You know you're going to be able to, you know you have to interact. However, emotionally, treat them as there's a 10-foot emotional pole up so that you can't get affected, you know? Okay, so no, let me not go into that because that's what I want to show you the clip on, and Lisa Bleu's going to go into some things. So basically, that's what we want to recognize. We want to recognize that some people are not toxic. They're not, but they're in your life to keep you stagnant. And you may not even know it. You may not even know it. So it's hard to get through a mental breakthrough sometimes if you have a lot of distractions or you have a lot of common familiar, conditional behavior around you. I'm supporting you on that because I truly understand. And don't think that we're making light of this. That's why we're taking our time. Now, I do realize that this is not an issue for everybody. I get it. But let's be patient. If you're hearing something I'm saying that you already know, girl, go on. What else you got? Take this opportunity for me to encourage you to encourage somebody else. Please do. It's so important for people that have learned lessons to share the lesson. You may not want to get a YouTube channel, But you could share the message with that person to your left, that person to your right, that person that you notice or just know that's going through something in your own way. You're your own person, but you can share the message. I feel that we are here to be helpers to one another. If you can add to what I'm trying to say, email me at LadyD41, the number 1, and then ONE. So LadyD41ONE at gmail.com. Give me your feedback. Give me your comments. Let's heal together. I totally admit that I'm in a healing process, and I'm so thankful for it because I have been enlightened and I have been set free more so than I were before. That's another thing. Sometimes we feel like we have given things to God. Sometimes we feel like we've let things go. But have you really let it all go? Or are you holding on to something? I truly feel that God is all powerful, but he can only do what you allow him to do. He can only pick it up after you've released it. So we got to work on releasing it and letting it go. Sometimes you have to recognize it to release it. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about having a spirit of discernment. We're going to be talking about recognizing those feelings that warn you from negative energy. And I want to give a few more minutes. I have a couple more minutes left. I want to give that to Lisa on the Women of Impact YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I am going to ask for permission. However, this is only being used for fair use content and to encourage and inspire each other. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Become your own unique butterfly and love yourself. Spread it everywhere. I love you guys. I'm leaving you with Lisa. She's going to tell you how to recognize these triggers. When you are triggered, how do you react to it? Take a listen and have a wonderful day. I love you. Like the video.
How the hell do we control our emotions when we literally feel like we're about to explode? Let's get into it. How do we control our emotions when we set up boundaries and they're crossed? When I speak up, the other person makes me feel like the bad guy. How do we not get emotionally reactive? Okay, I freaking love this question. And the reason why I love it is that you're taking ownership. How do I become non-emotionally reactive? Because that's the thing, guys. You're never going to be able to control the other person, but you can control how you react to something. But there's also one other thing. You can control how you approach it in the first place, because this is how I see it, guys. Setting a boundary with someone that you really care about, I'm going to put the asterisk there, someone you really care about, means that you have to show them respect. If you go in and say, hey, you've just crossed this line and you've done this and you've done that. Well, imagine someone comes to you like that. What do? You defend yourself. Of course you defend yourself. So what you want to do is make sure that when you're taking that very first step where someone's overstepped their mark, crossed your boundary, whatever it is, that you approach it in a really non-emotional stance. So if you're looking to approach it, are you happy? Are you sad? Are you frustrated? Really acknowledge what emotion you're feeling and make sure that you do it when what I like to call emotionally sober. It means that you're not drunk on your emotions. Why do I like to say that? Because we've all, if you've ever had alcohol, you know you have a couple of sips of alcohol, you're dancing, you're doing things, maybe you say something you shouldn't, and the next day you regret it. It's exactly like emotions. You may say something, you may do something that the next day you're going to regret. So how the hell do we stay emotionally sober? So first of all, make sure that you approach the discussion when you're calm, when you're in a good mood, when you're happy. Now it's about what language are you going to use so that you can, quote unquote, control the situation as much as you possibly can. Now, when I say that, like I said, you're not going to be able to control how they respond, but it is absolutely imperative that you do go into the situation knowing that you can control how you approach it. So what I do is I think about the language. I think about who I'm about to speak to. So I'm actually going to give you an example that happened between me and my adorable husband. It was during my days as a stay-at-home wife, and I literally would rely on him to text me. I was bored. I would be texting him. I'd be calling him. And he just got really freaking busy. He loved working hard. He loved being an entrepreneur. And so time to him became very valuable. So what ended up happening was he was coming to me just with one word answers. And it got to the point, guys, where literally I would be like, hey babe, what time are you coming? Just want to let you know that I'm cooking this. And his response was K. The letter K. Now, I love my husband to bits, but to me, I started to feel like I wasn't really important to him. And so I thought, you know what? I need to talk to him about where I see the boundaries of being where you can be somewhat neglectful towards me, which I've actually told him you can totally neglect me on these situations. So where I am okay with feeling neglected and where I'm just not okay. And I think setting that boundary is super, super important. But you can imagine if I went to him and I was like, hey, motherfucker, I want you to stop saying K. It is so disrespectful. I can't believe you don't even have the respect to write the O. Do you not love me or something? That's one way of handling it. The way that I actually handled this was knowing how much my husband loves me, knowing that he wants to make me happy, knowing why he's doing K. So I'm not coming at him like he's doing something wrong. It's just a difference of opinion. It's a difference of opinion. So I just went to him and I said, hey, this is where I draw the line. I love you, baby. I'm so, in it. I totally understand that time is very, important to you. And so I'm showing him the respect. I know this is important to you, babe. And so I want to back that. I want to be there for you to support you. But this is actually where the fine line is. And now we've spilled over. See, I'm saying we have spilled over. I'm not saying he has spilled over, or I'm not saying he's crossed, right? Even just those differences, guys. We have spilled over versus you have crossed. All the difference in the freaking world. So I watch the language I use. We have spilled over into not having a very tight communication, and I start to feel, I use the word feel because it is not a fact, I feel it. He can go, well, I don't feel like that. So now what are you doing? You're just arguing about how you feel. But I don't want to argue about how I feel. So I say feel because I want him to know that it is an emotional reaction. And when he knows it's an emotional reaction, he's not just trying to convince me otherwise. Like literally try and convince someone they don't feel the way they do. You can't. You can talk through it with them. You can get empathy. You can see it from their perspective. Maybe you can help them change their perspective, but you can't convince the person that their feeling isn't real. So we don't try to convince each other. He doesn't try to convince me. So I say, babe, I feel more disconnected to you. Just putting that K, I totally get that you probably don't, right? Making him see that I understand his perspective. And there you go. Once I said, babe, I really feel like this, I would love it. Asking, being part of it, not demanding, because who the hell wants to be told what to do? I certainly don't. So I literally use these language, and what does he do now? He basically said, I totally hear you, babe. I'm going to make the effort to do the O. And now we have lovely text messages, and if he's in a rush, he just texts me, okay. And I'm totally fine with it. So that's how you address the boundary in the first place. Now, if you've gone into it really thinking, really analyzing, trying to be like super respectful and really trying to make an effort to put this boundary in place, but do it in like the most gracious way, and they don't reciprocate, and they come at you and they're like, I don't agree with this, and they try and bulldoze you, or they try and wreck your boundary, or they try and cross it and disrespect it blatantly to your face. Because that may happen, guys. If they do that, now at least you can come saying, I did everything I possibly could to set this boundary up and my relationship with this person for success. But now at some point, it's going to have to be down to them. It's going to have to be down to how they then react to it. And so for me, if I've done all this work, all this effort to really create space, and someone then just disrespects me, going back to how do you not emotionally react? In that moment, I could just revert to, I'm so proud of myself, Lisa. I'm so proud of myself for having gone into this situation with utter dignity, respect, low emotions, thoughtfulness. And now if someone's not responding, I will tell myself before I go into that conversation, what's your freaking exit plan? So I ask, what is the exit plan? Now, if Tom had turned around and said to me, Lisa, I don't give a shit about the O, like you're going to get the K and that's it. Well, now that becomes a discussion about the disrespect. But let's say they're not even willing to discuss. Now it's up to you on what you want to do about it. Do you want to freak out, or go back to your action plan and say, they are showing me their true colors? That's what I would do. I literally go, Don't worry about getting emotional, Lisa, but just don't react to it. In that moment where they respond the way they do, take a deep breath, be proud of yourself, and then say, now the ball is in my court. I can walk away knowing that I'm proud. I think we get very emotionally reactive when we feel shame, when we feel guilt, when we feel embarrassed. At least I do. And so knowing that I've shown up with such freaking respect allows me to walk away with no emotional reaction.